Welcome to Retro Fanfic Retrospective, the podcast where we dredge up old fanfiction and expose it to the cold, harsh light of 2019. My name is Amato, and with me are...
Dom.
And Galen.
Tori can't make it tonight for some reason, traveling, something.
They're taking their show on the road, I think.
Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago.
Comic stuff.
Oh, that's right. I mean, I guess comics are important.
Hey.
Sometimes comics are fan fiction.
Hey, you and I have to stay friends after this, Amato.
Right. So instead we have... I guess we have to stay friends. I did just make you rewatch ReDeath.
Yes.
So I'm treading on thin ground here.
Yeah, your bank account's coming up empty.
I call it strike two.
What was strike one?
Probably the haircut.
That's fair, but the listeners can't see that.
No, so just imagine the haircut we're talking about.
The worst haircut.
No, not that one. Yeah, that one. Yeah, you got it.
Yep, that's it.
Now, we are here tonight. We're gathered here tonight, friends and family, to discuss... Can we call this 90s humor, even though it came out in 2000?
Yeah, I think that's safe.
It's 90s humor.
90s humor.
Our dear departed 90s humor.
But before we get into our fan work, Amato and I, we've already done a couple of Evangelion fanfics before.
Just the one that was aired and one that was lost. So we have rambled about Evangelion, but
Yes.
the person who has not yet rambled about Evangelion...
is Galen.
That's me.
So Galen, what's your connection with Evangelion?
So,
Just a moment.
okay.
Evangelion or Evangelion in English?
I'm probably going to switch between the two now that you brought it up.
It's got to be Evangelion, right?
It's
No?
Evangelion in Japanese.
Mind blown.
But is it Evangelion in English? I don't know.
Can I go with what I've always called it?
Which is?
Evangelion.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I was introduced to Evangelion by someone named Amato when I was a fourth grader.
I'm so sorry.
Fourth
A
grade?
fourth grader, yeah. No, I watched all the way up, I'd say the first 5 episodes as a fourth grader, and then the rest of the show when I was a sixth grader, thank God.
Oh, that's good. You spaced it out. So.
Yeah, but no, I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and didn't understand it very well, but at the time as a kid, I loved the design, I guess. I loved the suits, I loved the angels, I loved the Evangelions, and there's a lot that kind of went over my head. But yeah, I guess we watched it probably a couple times growing up and talked about it all the time. And then I watched it again in college, and then I watched it a couple more times. And it was kind of the first thing I bought with my own money was a box Ava DVD set.
Nerd.
Yeah, no.
I think I remember that boxed Ava DVD set because it was the remasters, or like the first ones.
And that's the one we used to apostatize Evangelion to other people after that.
Maybe, but I just remember being shocked that like it didn't look like Ava because it was all cleaned up. Like the colors were bright and,
Yeah.
No,
it was shiny. And they fixed Ray's smile. I remember in the original, it's kind of like smile. And then in the remastered, it's a really great smile.
Now, when you talk about rewatching, you were saying earlier before recording that you showed Evangelion to a series of romantic partners. Can I ask why and how that went?
I guess, it would be fair to say it's my favorite show. And it kind of always has been. And I think when I was a teenager, I liked the shock factor of it, the kind of postmodern, unusual story. It was sort of like the Game of Thrones for me as a teenager.
But just like asking questions at all about these things was interesting to you?
Yeah, and I was always interested in religion and now I'm a art therapist, so when I was always interested in psychology, and so there's a lot of that in Ava too.
Psychology, I don't know about religion.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, religious imagery,
Oh, yeah.
you
Yeah.
could argue is in it. So then I think it was just kind of sharing a part of me with the people I was dating, and I recently shared it with CJ about a year ago, and we both really enjoyed it. And I got to see it I think this was the first time I really got to think about it actively, because she's more of a deep thinker about media, so we got to discuss it as we went along, and that was really fun.
That's my next question. So you've been with Evangelion since 4th grade, you said?
Yeah.
No, okay. To be fair, you said I showed it to you. I think I gave it to Taran, and you were in the same house.
Yeah,
I don't think I was
it's Taran's
specifically
fault.
like, "Hey, 4th grader, watch this."
But yeah, we didn't really understand the... Because like you and Taran were pretty close siblings growing up. It's like giving it to one is like giving it to the other.
No, right. So, yeah, no, there's multiple failures in the system, Amada. Don't worry. Parental supervision and all kinds of things.
But my question is, at what point in your relationship with Ava do you feel like you finally started getting a handle on what it was about?
I think just recently, honestly. I'd say this most recent watch through and really paying attention, because I wrote a paper about it in college in an apocalyptic literature class, which was, and so I was going through with my professor, and we were actually watching End of Ava together, and she was a scholar of basically Christian apocalypse writing. And so she was just kind of pointing out all the references, because there's a ton of references.
Yeah.
And so I was doing a lot of reading about it at that point, but I don't think I was so distracted by everything else that was happening in school at that time. Whereas this time I got to really kind of think about it more.
That's why it's important to look at things in the cold, harsh light of 2018 or 19.
Yeah, no, exactly. And also, I think it was different this time as a therapist, right? Because I've been working with traumatized children,
Troubled kids, yeah.
every day, pretty much for the last 6 years.
So did it feel more like work watching it?
No, I feel like it was easier to watch this time.
Which pilot would benefit most from art therapy?
All of them. All of them, man. Seriously. Yeah, all the characters. I think that's what makes a good Ava character,
Is benefiting from therapy, yes.
Yeah, that someone's letting them down, basically, or everybody else is letting them
I
down.
think it's fair to say all the characters, including all the side characters, all the kids in
everybody.
the class,
All the angels.
all the adults.
And I think that's why a lot of people need it kind of segues a little bit into what we watch, because a lot of people... I remember I went to an anime convention as a high schooler, and there was a panel called the anime that scarred me, or it was like a workshop or whatever, and everybody there was there to talk about Evangelion, because it's hard to watch.
I think attending an anime convention is actually an excellent segue, because we're going pretty off the beaten, established path today,
Right.
and watching Evangelion ReDeath, which is a parody fandub by Studio Sokode, and it's from 2000. And it was popular, and it made the convention rounds
Although
back
I think
in the day.
the version we watched this time was the Redux.
The
which was
Redux, which is cleaned up.
2004.
Right. Is that... It's that old?
That's what it said in the title, in the credits.
Oh, yeah, no, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, well...
So 2000, 2004 Redux. Yeah.
Fair enough. I had never seen that one before, though, until now. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, popular at anime conventions. Now, I feel like maybe we had a copy. Someone had a copy on VHS.
It would have been from you, Amada.
That would have been you.
But I don't remember getting one. I just feel like we watched it in some way where we could watch it when we wanted to.
Yeah. Probably a CD you burned at some point.
And I
Probably
think
a
it was
CD I
also
burned.
on YouTube really early, I think.
When
No,
was-
YouTube wasn't 2004.
Maybe not.
No.
Okay, never mind.
YouTube was Lazy Sunday. SNL.
We didn't have YouTube.
It must have been on a disc then, yeah.
Yeah. We had to search out sketchy anime websites and, like, FTPs.
I just had a flash of a memory of a CD with ReDeath and a model's handwriting on the front.
It must have been on a CD, in some way or other.
Yeah.
Yes.
I still have a bunch of those CDs you burned for me since because you burned CDs for me of anime since 7th grade to end of high school, just about
Sure.
continuously. It's I have a giant bucket of them in my house.
So do I. Of things where it's I've got to back up this stuff because who knows if it will turn up on the internet again. And now it's just well, if I want to watch anything, I will stream it.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
exactly.
if I want to watch Sailor Moon 3 episodes at a time, I'll throw on one of the CDs. It has helped with Grand Caesar, though. That's been one that's been hard to track down.
Yeah, oddly hard. I don't think I have the whole Grand Sailor series though, unfortunately.
Yeah, I tried at one point. There's like a gap somewhere in the middle, uncomfortably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to stream and show CJ the new Evangelion movies, and I can't find them anywhere.
Can't you just buy them?
Probably, yeah.
I
I mean,
think
but I'm just so lazy at this point. I'm just used to paying $2 to stream something.
I might be able to point you towards something. Off the record.
Right, you two do that off camera in the back alley with an exchange of goods later.
Support official release.
So, the reason we're watching this, besides just kind of experimenting with a different sort of fan work, is that I recalled it being funny, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had vaguely positive memories of this.
We all did. We all watched it when we were like 12 or something and thought it was hilarious.
And I'm sure the anime community in general has vaguely positive memories of it, probably because no one's watched it since 2004.
It's Gendo.
Yeah, it's Gendo.
That's what stuck with me.
Yeah.
17 years ago.
That definitely stuck with me. But rewatching it, there were a few things where I was like, oh, this is definitely like on the tip of my brain. I just haven't had cause to think about this exchange.
Yeah. We had several phrases in there that we like to repeat. Some of them kind of accurate, some of them not. I just remember a lot of, this is Gendo, you may speak. For some reason, that line just was said by us to each other all the time.
It's a good delivery.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with talking about ReDeath is that, and one of the problems about talking about ReDeath, is that there's not really a plot that you can talk about. I don't think we can go through this step by step.
No.
Like, there's a few subplots, if you want to call them that, but I'm not even sure you can call them that because none of them have an arc that something that you would call a plot would have.
Right.
There's things that happen, but can one of you describe just what ReDeath is like?
I think Amato, when we were talking before, said it brilliantly that this was a proto-abridged series.
Yeah. It's calling the characters by their names.
Yes.
It's changing some things arbitrarily.
It's using footage that's recut and dialogue changed and dubbed over to create a different narrative for a completely comedic effect.
But not that different a narrative, which is part of the key kind of abridged fan dub thing.
Yeah.
Because it's still, there's Nerve, and there's Avas, and there's some kids that pilot Avas, and they fight angels, and there's a second impact, and the threat of a third impact. And so, like, the broad strokes are still there.
This is like, you've seen the series, you know what we're talking about. We're not talking about that, though.
Right.
This is, we're going to make Kaji Shinji's uncle for some reason.
That was really weird.
And they don't really make any reference to the twists and turns of the plot at all.
They completely disregard the seriousness of the series, I think, on purpose or in opposition to how serious the series is.
Yeah, I think, Galen, you were, like, moving towards that point at one point, that probably the popularity of ReDeath is that, like, once you watch Evangelion, you need to not take it seriously. You need to, like, undo some of that.
Because, like, I watched this the most recently because I showed a cousin all of Evangelion about 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And that was after I decided, you know what, I'm going to figure out what Evangelion is actually about, and, like, did some research online, read some wikis, and, like, watched some videos about psychology and and then watched it from the beginning and, like, studying, like, the director style. And then afterwards, just watching my cousin sitting there with a dazed look after watching all the series and all the movies, it's like, you know what? Let's give something to cut the tension a bit.
Did it cut the tension?
It did, actually. Yeah, it was. It's good for nervous laughter.
I also feel like, and going on that point, in Evangelion, it starts off with some kind of bit comedy, kind of adolescent comedy, and that sort of drops off. And I think,
sex humor, sure.
Yeah, and so for some people who watch it at the end, they're probably kind of missing that. And so watching it immediately afterwards, they'll be like, okay, there's a little bit.
That stuff wasn't my favorite stuff, but it definitely is noticeable the very first time you go through that, like, you have those few episodes in the, like, I don't know, like, high single digits that are, like, really lighthearted, like, almost romantic or sexual comedy stuff sometimes, and then they just stop. They just stop doing those episodes.
Yeah, there's a definite turning point. I forgot exactly when it is. Might be when Rei dies.
I want to say it's before that. It's more like...
It's around there.
Because like, Toji gets maimed before Rei dies.
No, I think it's around Toji.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's around that they're close together, or they're close together in my brain at least.
Mm-hmm.
So around that point, but it definitely turns from a semi wacky serious robot thing to a director expressing their depression.
So I think we get the appeal of something like ReDeath and why it would have captured the zeitgeist, the fan zeitgeist in 2000 when Ava was like kind of at the height of its popularity.
I think the phrase you'd use is "take the piss out of."
Take the piss out of Ava.
Yeah.
But I think we have a lot to complain about.
Cold, harsh light of 2019.
I know. I'm not sure ReDeath should have been pulled out into the cold, harsh light of 2019.
It was painful to watch, I would say.
Yeah. So let's talk about one thing at a time.
Okay.
One thing is that the main thread, Galen, you were talking about watching ReDeath, taking it seriously, and then realizing you shouldn't, and like thinking, what are the themes?
No, I know, exactly.
The theme is sex.
Yeah, no,
That's it.
It's
The theme is sex, parentheses, haha, parentheses.
Yeah, that seems accurate, Dom. Yes.
that's really from a male perspective of sex. For
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
Definitely.
Right.
So you've got a main thread being Shinji feeling sexual urges and not understanding them and asking people for advice about it mostly, but like doesn't really get anywhere.
Yeah.
That's
I think Shinji is obviously a difficult protagonist, and a lot of fans react negatively to his weakness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, some people get angry at him, and I feel like this is sort of making fun of it or kind of laughing at him in a way, but also with him being like, "Oh, you don't know about sexuality, so this whole thing is about his journey of not knowing about it."
Yeah, for a fan work, there was kind of no Shinji bashing, really. It was just, Shinji was just a naive, blank character to put jokes on.
Yeah. And of the 3 or more sexual-based subplots in this, I think that was the least, the easiest to watch and probably, I don't know, the one I enjoyed the most. It's not a high bar for the sex stuff. But, like, there's a few good exchanges. I don't know. He's talking to Misato and he says, "Oh, if you marry Kaji, you're going to become my aunt, right?" She says, "Yeah." He says, "So that basically ruins my chances." And she says, "Your chances of what?" He says, "I'm not sure." Like, it's not high humor, but, like, it's not unamusing.
There's the idea of trying to grasp something you don't understand, but yeah.
Right, which is and that's part of Ava, right? It's just, it's done differently in the actual show. And this is just kind of dropping a sledgehammer on that idea.
They did a couple of good things with timing, though, for comedic effect.
Oh, yeah. And, right, do you want to talk about some of those?
One that got me that I didn't remember, I wasn't expecting, which is like, they were doing the Tokyo 3 coming up from the ground.
Yeah, it's
scene.
great.
And the majestic music and just watching.
Yeah, well, Misato's like, "Before we go home, Shinji, I have something I want to show you." Mm-hmm. And then they do that scene.
Yeah, they do that scene, and then like Misato's just like, "See, Shinji, this is a really good place to make out," and just stares
with a smile, frozen smile for a moment.
Huge grin for like an uncomfortable amount of time.
Yeah,
I think it like flashed back and forth between Shinji and Misato.
I feel like the best parts of this fan dub were when they just repurpose some existing footage for like a out of left field joke.
Yeah.
It was very Mystery Science Theater when Mystery Science Theater is funny. It's like the Mystery Science Theater best jokes are not them reacting to what people are saying usually. It's them reacting to like weird quirks of how people are walking or like sounds or just like a weird scene.
Yeah, Gendo walking several different ways diagonally. Yeah.
Or I'm also thinking of just the first time you see, I don't even remember, Central Dogma. I haven't watched Ava in too long. Mm-hmm. The inside of Nerve.
Yeah.
And like you see Bridge Bunny scenes, and at one point like the two male Bridge Bunnies do their dramatic turns when they're saying something really important. Mm-hmm. And one of them's like, "A7," and the other one says, "You sank my battleship."
Yeah.
And that kind of like repurposing the footage is usually funny.
And like the other one they did was it was a joke on the Hallelujah Mind part, which is like not a great kind of a sensitive subject.
Wait, is this Toji dropping?
Toji's dropping his
Yeah,
pants.
yes.
But-
Toji drops his pants, and they just play the Hallelujah chorus in a frozen frame
and hold it for like 30 seconds.
for like the entire time that the song plays in the episode originally.
Right. And so that's like a really good Ava joke.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good Ava joke. That one is a pretty good Ava joke.
You know, obviously they're doing it in like kind of a crass way because that's their style of humor. But like it's such a jab at Ava and how Ava does things.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other timing-based comedy scene was the elevator.
Absolutely.
Ray and Asuka in the elevator.
Which was originally one of those scenes that they hold for an uncomfortably long time before
Yeah.
anything happens.
Which, like, with my latest rewatch, I really appreciated those scenes from a directorial style standpoint, where they kind of brings you into the moment and like makes you overthink things, which is perfect.
Right. But in this fan dub.
Yeah, in the stand-up, they just sit there for a while, and they use a frame of Asuka shifting uncomfortably after like a long period of silence, just shifting uncomfortably just for a loud fart. And that's it. And that's the high bar of humor for this.
It's the whole scene.
And that's definitely when it's at its best.
Right. Yes. It's always crude, but sometimes it's clever crude. Most of the time it's not. And so if we're descending down the sexual subplots and how comfortable they are, I'd say the next down the rung of digging too deep is probably the whole like Kaji Misato Ritsuko thing. There's not even any point. It's just
Right.
it's just like Kaji
Yeah,
is
that-
cheating on Misato.
That one really is just sex haha.
Yeah, it fell totally flat.
They had several jokes that were punctuated with the punchline, let's go make out.
Yeah. And they have, you know, just really gross scenes with them that yeah, there's no purpose to it.
It's not like it goes anywhere.
Right.
It's not like there's any particularly clever humor in them.
And Kaji always comes back to this sort of sexist, ooh, catfight.
Yeah.
Which,
Great.
to be fair, is an accurate characterization of Kaji.
Right?
Yeah, Kaji, mostly in character. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately,
Right.
in character, yeah.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, and so then digging deeper and deeper, you have the Gendo thing.
Right.
Yep.
I appreciate the song.
Right. So the funny part is that whenever Gendo enters the room, he has a theme song, and that's the only thing anyone remembers. It's the only thing I remembered clearly.
Yes.
Right. Which goes, it's Gendo.
Dun-dum, 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 dun-dum,
I have the script here, so I know what song that is, even.
dun-dum, dun. Is it
It's-
from Shaft or something?
The beginning of Soul Education by Jemi Requai. I don't know that person. Yeah, that's it.
So, beginning of Soul Education,
Soul Education, S-O-U-L,
which is a funny name for a Evangelion parody song to
Right.
use.
which I guess was probably part of the purpose.
Yeah.
Right. And that was one thing that I thought was kind of funny was the character inversion. So Ray's a valley girl, Asuka's a...
Yeah. Ray has one scene, but just giving Ray a extremely non-Ray voice is funny.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you know, Gendo is a pimp, I guess, kind of.
Well, that he is
That's the-
because that is in the text
That is in the text.
multiple times.
So, Gendo is a cartoonish caricature of a pimp.
Yep.
Which, because Gendo is just a character that's really serious and frustrating.
Right.
This is a total flip for him, which is kind of funny.
Well, the funny thing was just the theme song and the theme song existing in universe.
Right. People
but-
complain about it.
Yeah.
And then after playing it once and playing it twice and have someone complain about it when Gendo enters the room, there's the really funny scene where Shinji's in the elevator.
From episode 2 of Evangelion, where Shinji's leaving the hospital, and there's just a tense scene where they're going on the elevator, and the elevator door opens, and it's their dad, and the dad Shinji, just the silence, and Shinji looks away, and the door's closed. It's
Right.
like this tense moment.
And so it's that same scene, except that the elevator doors open and the theme song starts playing.
It's Gendo. Dun.
Right.
And then the elevator doors close and cut off the music.
Yeah, the elevator's doors close, and like the music gets muffled when the doors close, not cuts off.
Is that right? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is slightly more funny.
Anyway, pimp humor is not enjoyable, really.
It's bad.
It's bad.
It's bad.
It's semi-racist. It's extremely sexist.
yeah.
It's, like, not great at all. Yeah.
Bad way to treat people, bad way to treat sex workers, bad way to treat audience.
Yeah. And I remember even as a 12-year-old not finding that part funny. And now
No.
today it is pretty offensive.
I don't think I ever like thought about what they meant by pimp. It was just like a funny word they said that didn't connect to anything when I was in middle school.
Yeah. Yeah. It just kind of floated out there.
Yeah.
And we talked about Ray Valley Girl, and in her scene, I never understood what was I never understood that dialogue, but apparently it's a reference where she is quoting the lyrics of the song No Scrubs.
TLC, yeah.
Right.
They don't want no scrub. The scrub, someone can't get no love from them.
Right.
Hanging out the passenger side of the best friend's ride.
They're just using the
Trying to holler at
scene
me.
where Ray slaps Shinji for a comedic effect. They're
Right.
like, that's something we can use in this video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That part's not bad. And you were talking about comedic voices. Not Shinji. Asuka gets a kind of like...
It's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's Schwarzenegger.
It's just Schwarzenegger.
It's just Schwarzenegger. There's Schwarzenegger quotes.
And
in there,
a
Yeah, that's true.
Schwarzenegger impression in one case.
which is because like Oscar's German, so Schwarzenegger, even though Schwarzenegger is
It's not German.
Austrian. It's a
No,
Beethoven.
I didn't. I laughed at that the first time it happened just because it was surprising, and then it wasn't really funny after that.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. That's a lot of it.
It's a one-note joke that they keep on hammering on, and it doesn't change.
Oh, since all we're doing is jumping around talking about things that we liked or didn't like, which is all you can do
Yeah.
when discussing this,
We could go point by point, but
there's no point.
it would be a lot of point, and it would be quicker just to watch it. It's only 34 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, if you're interested, watch it. It's, yeah.
Yeah, with a
accessible.
grain of salt.
Anyway, at one point, they're fighting the 11th Angel, which is a Pikachu doll, and Gendo says they need to defeat it through the power of song, and they sing Bohemian Rhapsody.
So this thing is a like one-note joke, sex joke, and also AMV delivery system.
That's true. There's more than one AMV.
Yes.
Because there's this Bohemian Rhapsody. And what I was going to say is that after going through the whole first part of Bohemian Rhapsody, cutting from character to character and kind of goes on for too long, the punchline is that it goes into the instrumental part and they use the scene of like the one shot of Unit 1 like about to headbutt something. What's
That's
it doing?
Unit 0.
Unit Zero,
Unit Zero, right.
going berserk
Yeah,
inside the testing cage.
Oh, that's right. Unit 0 banging its head against the glass walls.
For the headbanging part of the guitar solo.
Right. Which is funny and got a laugh out of it.
Yeah, no, I laughed at that part. I wrote that down as this is one of the like 3 things that I thought were funny. But yeah, no, it was funny.
Yeah, it's all clever repurposings of the video, I think, are the strengths of this.
It's a good AMV.
And I think there's another AMV for no.
They have a commercial break in the middle with a Pokemon AMV.
Yes. Which came roaring back to me as soon as it started.
Yeah, it's like I remember this AMV and I forgot. I didn't realize this was connected to ReDeath at all.
No, I did not remember that at all either.
Yeah, because I remember just watching this independently, I think.
I'm sure it was online independently as well.
It was a Pokemon AC/DC, I think, is the song. I've Got Big Balls.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have Pokeballs.
Lots of Pokeballs.
Yes.
And, I mean, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Well put together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually watched it on YouTube, and they cut that part out, so I'm remembering that from a long time ago.
Yeah, but as soon as you're reminded of it, you remember the whole thing, right?
yes,
Yeah.
oh, of
Yeah.
course.
Only need to see it once.
There's also the where they fight the 11th Angel, which is just a Pikachu doll in front of a green screen with Tokyo 3 in the background. When they come back from commercial, they have like Tenchi Muyo,
Tenchi Muyo, yeah, that happened.
and they just do a little thing. The girl I pick is, and they have the giant Pikachu angel crush him.
Right. Which we'll comment on.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's another harsh light of 2019 is I haven't thought about Tenchi Muyo
You probably shouldn't.
since watching it as like the only option of what to watch.
Yeah, there was never any reason to think about Tenchi Muyo in particular.
Yeah.
There was no need for Tenchi.
I got it. That's nice.
And then
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not laughing, but I get it.
And I think during that battle, it was sort of the Pikachu doll and it was some other doll.
They have a Pikachu and a Ryo-Oki doll
Yeah.
fight each other.
You're Oki from Tenchi Muyo.
Right.
Yes. The
Yeah.
most merchandisable part.
Yeah, I feel like I just kind of grabbed a glass of water during that.
What do you think about the plot such as it is of this, which is the reason for Second Impact, where you get a whole long Ava info dump.
We haven't talked about that, have we?
No, we have not.
We talked this long about it. We haven't mentioned the crux of the whole thing.
The premise, you might say, but you might not because it's really not. But it is a thing.
I'll leave that to you guys if you want to talk about it.
So there was a temporal paradox because somebody played, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Prince's Party Like It's 1999 in the year 2000.
The title is just 1999, but yes, that's correct.
2000, party's over, zip, out of time. But right now, let's party like it's 1999.
Second Impact.
It reminded me a little bit of Y2K, which,
Yeah.
I think that's part of what the comedy was, because like
yeah.
Y2K was a big fucking thing and nothing happened out of it.
Right.
It was just unnecessary social paranoia.
I mean, I feel like that would have been funny if they made it Y2K and that's what caused.
But I think at the time it was obvious.
Yeah, exactly. No,
yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
connecting those two.
I have really forgotten about Y2K at all. That kind of gives them some context to this, I think.
Yeah, it does. And, there's a scene that establishes that happening at the beginning, which is unnecessary. And then Kaji has an info dump talking about it, which I kind of thought was funny just because it's completely sheer ridiculous. Like, it might as well be Ava theologic technobabble.
But taken as seriously as a Gilbert and Sullivan plot.
Right. And then for some reason Gendo wanted to cause Third Impact. There's no reason given.
No reason.
And none at all. And at the end he does by getting his hands on the CD again and playing it again.
I got the impression he just wanted to play the song again.
Oh, right, because part of Kaji's info dump is like everyone forgot about that song, as soon as it hit the charts, like it was meant to be because it's a terrible pop song.
Yeah, pop songs are meant to be forgotten right after they come out.
Everything except Gendo. Oh yeah, once the Millennium hit, people became bored of it, but not Gendo. So he played it at his party. There you go. Yep.
And then they have Shinjo confronting Gendo with,
Can't handle the truth quotes.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The you can't handle the truth part is not funny.
No.
Which is a shame because I think that the earlier dialogue was kind of funny. Shinji
Right.
saying, "You caused the Second Impact?" And he says, "Oh, my bad."
And I think this was in the heyday of the "you can't handle the truth" meme.
I suppose.
Well, it was like, you caused a second impact? Oh, my bad. Are you going to cause a third impact? Go to your room.
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
And then the scene just keeps going.
So just and you're causing the third impact? Go to your room thing.
Yeah.
That was good timing. That was funny.
Yeah, good Ava
Go to your room.
joke.
And I mean, this is a parody fan dub from the year 2000. It was not at all the first anime parody fan dub. But, like, people weren't going through this script as editors thinking about, like, does this joke work? Or, like, let's do another take of that scene, They were just throwing it together.
Yeah, no, the bar was really low back
Yeah.
then.
People would watch anything.
And like the audio quality is pretty poor.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah. I remember distinctly watching it originally and just having no clue what was happening in that first scene of Gendo's party.
Yeah.
Like, I just didn't
The-
hear anything.
Yeah, the audio artifacting, whatever it is, made everything incomprehensible.
Yeah.
And at the end, they have what's it? The movie with the apes, Charlton Heston.
That would be Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
you blew
Planet
it
of the Apes
up.
reference with the Ray head,
Yeah.
which was appreciated.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Also, that picture is like iconic as it is for Evangelion. There is a reference to it in a children's cartoon that's on TV now. Craig of the Creek. There's a bunch of little kids at the creek, and there's like a kingdom, kind of like Recess or like Kids Next Door sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
And they have the elders, which are a bunch of like middle schoolers or high schoolers who hang around, and they're RPG fans and they role play. And on the wall of their cave that they're in, there's a sad boy Pilot Gideon poster with a face and a C like that.
wait, am I imagining it, or was there a End of Ava shot reference in Steven Universe?
With pizza.
With pizza.
Yes.
Okay, yes, that's right.
Definitely.
In the dream.
Yeah.
I was going to say when Stevani's on the alien planet, but no, that doesn't seem right. In the dream, yes.
Dream Warriors episode, I think.
Yeah.
So we're at the point now where there's people our age making cartoons, putting Evangelion references in kids' movies,
Yeah.
kids' shows.
Yeah, One Punch Man has Ava Unit 1 reference with the beetle monster.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a couple references around.
So, is there anything else to say about ReDeath? Like, I feel like, other than saying it's not funny most of the time and offensive most of the time in the cold harsh light of 2019. Like, I don't know.
I think if we step back from it and look at it from like a broad cultural point of view, this is like a precursor to the abridged series phenomena that happens much, much later.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because when I think back to other parody fandoms of the time, the one that I'm most familiar with is This Is Otaku Dump. It took Fushigi Yugi footage.
Right.
And renamed all the characters and completely recontextualized everything. And so it's like, oh, these people are supposed to be in the modern day going to an anime convention. And the fact that they looked nothing like modern day characters and the anime convention looked nothing like an anime convention was part of the humor. But I think that's what a lot of them were like fast food freedom fighters. They took the footage and just completely recontextualized everything.
Like absurdist skits or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe not skits, but like, I don't remember if they did this ReDeath thing where it's like, this is Misato, this is Shinji, this is basically the Evangelion premise, kind of, which is more of a parody fandom way of doing, not parody fandom, more of an abridged series way of doing it, right?
Right.
I could see if this studio had been, 14, 15 years later, this definitely would have been like an abridged series, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And we just would have had to put up with Austrian Schwarzenegger Oscar for like episode after episode.
Until they randomly changed it for a joke.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Or because their other voice actor couldn't continue.
Well, I'm just thinking of Little Karibo, where they changed the voice randomly, then they brought it back from the dead.
Joey's voice?
Tristan's voice.
Tristan's voice. I confuse the two because who cares?
Exactly.
Not me.
You got it.
Yeah. And I'm like I remember the Sailor Moon parody. I'm confusing the terms parody fandom and abridged series now. The Sailor Moon abridged series did something very similar with Mako or Lita. I don't know which one they used. And, it was also kind of offensive, but like they ran with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Evangelion has a bunch of different different emotions being shown on screen, different, so you can really play up the gags between someone tells a joke and then Shinji's in the shadow looking down kind of thing.
Although I do recall a Little Karibo clip where he talks about making an abridged series and he uses Evangelion as an example. So he makes like a little Evangelion abridged, which was actually kind of funny.
I would watch a Little Karibo Evangelion abridged.
Yeah, but I think they went a better direction with it.
What direction was that? Do you remember?
No clue.
Fair enough.
I'm looking for something to talk about.
Well, we don't have to keep talking about it, is what I was getting at. It's just like, it is what it is. It was interesting going back and looking at something that was very different from our usual. In my mind, I was willing to call this fan fiction because it takes the Evangelion characters and does something with them. If I read this as a text story, it would not be a good fanfic, but I would call it a fanfic.
Right. How much does the term fanfic depend on the medium?
Well, good question. I'm definitely stretching my personal definition here.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I definitely think this kind of video is interesting because you get a sense of how the fan base is responding to the content. It's just that this was not a particularly good one.
Like, I'm willing to call this a fan work. I'm okay with that.
Yes.
I'm not sure about fan fiction.
I think you're probably right that you probably shouldn't call it fan fiction. And I may have just broken the show.
Because, technically, fan fiction, it means fiction, but what the phrase actually means is talking about written literary work.
Right. It's like I can stretch this definition to other mediums, but if you're drawing a comic, you call it a fan comic.
Yeah.
If you're writing a story, you call it fan fiction. And if you're doing a video, you call it a fan work or fan video or whatever.
I'm not sure we should open the door to reviewing interpretive, artistic dances based on.
There would have to be old interpretive artistic dances based on
Evangelion?
Evangelion.
I've got some.
Wait, what?
There was one old video, a bunch of well-dressed people in suits with gloved hands. They have this whole choreographed thing to Cruel Angel's Thesis. It looked pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
But
that's not fiction. See, the thing about this is that it's a story, right?
Oh, narrative. Okay.
Narrative. I'm not reading any fan nonfiction.
Right.
Not even any fan creative nonfiction.
Wait.
Hey, I took a writing creative nonfiction class in college.
Is that a job that Facebook's hiring for at the moment?
Does Facebook actually pay anyone? I'm not clear. Like anyone at all?
Fair enough.
I think maybe even the people who work there are just doing it to get more exposure, more followers.
Right.
Creative nonfiction in this context is like personal essays. Like stuff about your life, but you're trying to make it an interesting narrative instead of just like a factual description.
Oh, storytelling.
Yeah.
I think Mark Twain's got that covered. Yeah.
Mark Twain has told all the creative nonfiction that ever needs to be told.
No, Mark Twain has the methodology figured out.
Oh, okay.
And gave some lectures about it. Some good books to read about it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, we won't be covering Mark Twain's lectures about nonfiction either. This is likely about as far as I'm going to go. And given, I don't know if we'll do this again. There's other things like this. There's like the Utena episode. What was it called? Oh yeah, Dance Dance Revolution, which was a great name for an Utena parody fandom.
Have I seen that?
Probably, because I had a CD of it and ended up sharing it online with the Utena fandom because the studio had disappeared. But they had released a really comprehensive CD to distribute it with a script and notes and all kinds of stuff.
Sounds like something I've seen in the dark, cold history of my past.
I remember it being funnier than ReDeath, but then again, I'm more of an Utena fan than an Ava fan, and also I remembered ReDeath being more amusing than it was also. So, who knows?
Right. And, it's collaborative, which can be cool that it's not just authored by one person, but
that is fun.
Kind of small community of fans.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always appreciative of people coming together to make something creative.
Yeah.
Well, no matter what product comes out, the experience is still valuable, I think.
Yeah, I always like that when we see a fanfic that has clearly been engaging with the community also.
Yeah.
And, we're talking ReDeath, I guess the cool thing about it is that it was just part of that community dialogue, right? Not just made by a whole group of people, but also kind of out of the very specific American Evangelion fan in the late 90s experience to the American Evangelion fan in the early aughts experience.
Yeah.
That was part of it.
Yeah.
There must have been a lot of female fans too, but they weren't dominating the discourse.
Right. No, this was definitely playing to the 11-year-olds.
Yes. And speaking of
definitely
90s American Evangelion fan discourse, Galen, Ray or Asuka?
You have to clarify the question.
I don't think I do.
Ray all the way. Are you kidding me?
No, I know your answer, Galen. You got the strongest answer out of anyone I've ever talked to.
No, yeah, Ray's the best.
Oh, what spoke to you about Ray?
She's just such a awesome, complex, and in my opinion, very strong character. Who,
I mentioned this back in her, I think, Toily episode, where Tori went off about how this whole conflict is stupid. Then I gave my answer.
Yeah.
But I think, because we were about 14, 15 at the time or so, we were developing, and I think the people, because they did polarize one side to the other, either to Asuka or to Ray. And I think that one that appealed to a person was the person that had the damage that people closely associated with their own.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I was more on the Asuka side, which looking back is kind of means terrible things for my childhood.
Yeah, and I love both characters for different reasons, but I think now as a therapist, seeing Ray's full arc where she becomes essentially a mother goddess, and she starts out as a clone of Shinji's mom, and I feel like that adds so much depth into the character.
Well, like I said back in Toily, I don't remember having strong opinions. Maybe Asuka. But Galen, from my current vantage point, I will give Ray all the love entirely off of the one scene in Asuka's second episode where Asuka walks over to her to introduce herself, and Ray moves the book over into the sunlight.
So good. No, I know. She has so many little badass moments.
That just sells the entire character for me.
Just very nerdy.
Yeah. Well, this was an experiment. I'm not sure how successful it was, but thanks for coming on, Galen, and trying to talk with us about a video that has no plot or story arcs or character arcs.
Amada, did you watch this before you suggested it, or?
I absolutely did not.
Okay, that explains it.
Well, that's part of the magic, Dom, is that I have some reason to think the thing might be good.
Right.
And then I choose that we're going to do it. And then we find out I was wrong. Or more often, right.
Well, it's always a pleasure to hang out with you guys.
It's nice to have an excuse.
Yeah, so if I'd remembered it more clearly, I might not have chosen it, just less because of the quality and more because of like the lack of depth to talk about. But that's fine.
It was time efficient, though.
Time efficient. We're in and out. We're going to get a good sleep tonight.
Well,
That's right.
It was also time efficient to watch it. You know, I was in the middle of reading something else that was assigned to me by you. So like this was nice to just have a little 30-minute pop in and then watched it.
Now that I mention it, that was another reason I chose it, because I knew Galen was a busy man.
Yeah, no, I've been really busy, and actually, when I asked, I forgot entirely that it was a video, and when you mentioned it, I was like, oh, I remember that phrase, ReDeath. It must be a fan fiction that everyone else read except for me. So I asked him, how long is it going to take to read? And Mano says, 30 minutes. I was like, wow, it must be like a poem.
I don't think you said to read. I think you just said, how long will it take?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Have we recommended anything that takes 30 minutes to read?
They Say of the Elves.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a short one.
Less than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like 10? Go read They Say of the Elves. Or, if you prefer, you can find ReDeath online. We have a link to it at bit.ly/rfrredeath.
I'll bring you to the Vimeo page.
Yeah, it'll bring you to the Vimeo page of the remastered version, but not that remastered, because it's from 2004. When video quality was still, you could watch it, I
Right.
guess, if you wanted. Anyway, our next fanfic is going to be a very different experience. We're finally getting to Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to say just a little preview. I recommend reading this fanfic. It's good.
It's very good.
Yeah.
It's a good novel, and we're going to be talking about it later.
And Tori will be joining us again for that one.
Yeah, and all the Buffy characters that you know and love are dead.
What?
Oh, that's
They're dead?
that encourages people to go read it, right?
Again?
But they come back, right?
Maybe one character you know and love comes back.
Is this like Marvel when they say like Captain America's dead when he comes back to the next episode?
Everything will be different forever. Yeah, Spider-Man will never be the same. My favorite character in my youth was Nightcrawler of the X-Men and Excalibur. And some years back he died in comics, and I was vaguely following comics at the time, and I was like, you know what? I don't have any feelings about this.
I know.
Except the vague wondering of how many years it will be before he comes back. Yeah, it was like 2. I don't know. They got him back from heaven. Like, you just can't die.
Yeah.
Unless you're deeply, deeply unpopular, I guess.
Captain America died and they gave Colbert their shield, but they still came back for the MCU.
Well, different continuities are a different thing as well. Anyway,
Hail Hydra.
the Buffy fanfic we've been dancing around is called Phoenix Burning, a 2001 fanfic by Yahtzee. And you can find a link there at bit.ly/rfrphoenix.
Get a start now.
Yeah, you can probably make it by next week. It's only it's 95,000 words. It's a novel, but it's not a long novel.
Yeah.
Yeah, go read it. Galen, you go read it too. You're not coming back to discuss it. Just go read it.
But I'll listen.
Yeah. This was episode 40 of Retro Fanfic Retrospective, ReDeath by Studio Sokode, which it's not really a fanfic, but it was episode 40. It's not a real doctor, but it is a real worm.
What is your science rada motto?
Once again, you can find a copy of it online at bit.ly/rfrredeath. The intro song is The Weekly Fair off of the album Poppy's Incredible Adventure by Komiku. The outro song is Run Against the Universe from the same album. You can find this album and other works by Komiku at loyaltyfreakmusic.com. You can find our website at retrofanficretrospective.podbean.com or bit.ly/retrofanfic. If you have questions, comments, or thoughts about the episode, contact us on Twitter at retrofanfic or send us an email at retrofanficretrospective@gmail.com.
Or check out our Facebook page?
Yeah, we got one of those too at retrofanfic.
Yeah.
Yep. Leaving comments or reviews or, whatever on Apple Podcasts or any of those other places would be great. We love to hear from you.
And if you have any idea how social media should work, let us know, because we're clueless.
Slam that like button.
Ring that bell.
First, we need someone who is social, I assume.
Oh. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
I'm Amato.
I'm Dom.
And I'm Galen.
We're just three children of Lilith trying to be nice to each other. Until next time, take care.
Life is just a fantasy.
See ya.
Because it's orange, you know?
That's a good joke.
It's a Evangelion meme.
Oh, okay.
It's a more modern one, I think. Yeah.
Fly me to the moon.
Let me play amongst the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. Hey, how you doing?